What's cracking, party people? It's your girl Nicole Banister, aka NIKKI BANZ, coming to you live from Cape Town, South Africa. Today I'm interviewing Asma Elbadawi right here on NIKKI BANZ Live! What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday, so you already know the vibes. We are back in action. Every single Tuesday, I am bringing you the dopest interviews with the most incredible, most dynamic, most entertaining people from across the globe. Whether they are athletes, actors, activists, entrepreneurs, content creators, I'm telling you, I got the juice, I got the sauce for you every single week, day in and day out. Every single week is a Today, like I was saying, every single week is a different guest from a different country, and I am so thrilled to have you all here with me day in and day out every Tuesday. What's up to Incogni in the building? What's up to Dr. Socrates in the building? Ellie is in the building. Our very special guest of the day, Asma Elbadawi, is in the building, and I am so thrilled. I'm telling you, today is a very special treat, y'all. Asma Elbadawi is originally from Sudan, grew up in the UK, and she is a superstar hooper with some of the biggest brand partnerships out there. She's an Adidas ambassador, so you know I had to rock my three stripes today just for my girl here, and she's an incredible poet and spoken word artist. So we're going to talk about all things and chop it up here today on NIKKI BANZ Live. It is late for her in Dubai, y'all, so I don't want to take up any more time with the intro. I'm going to bring her on right now and get this party started. This is NIKKI BANZ Live. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm inviting her on right now, and one. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's get it popping. Asma.
Hi.
What's up, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. I know we had a little mix up with the time, and it's totally my bad, but you're still here. We are so grateful. Thank you. Shukran.
It's okay. I was like, I'm sure it was 9 o'clock this time, right? But it's okay. I'm awake anyway, but I'm going to try and have an early night. But how are you?
I got you. I got you. I am so good. I feel like 2023 has started off with a bang. There's so much momentum, just working it out day in and day out. What about you? How's 2023 treating you, girl?
I keep forgetting it's 2023. It's good. It's good. There's so much like happening. Obviously, I'm in Dubai at the moment, so like I'm experiencing new things and experiencing more challenges that I normally, wouldn't normally experience. So I'm kind of enjoying the experience at the moment.
Well, I know that being in a new city, figuring out life in a new place is always super interesting and dynamic. How long have you been in Dubai?
I think 2.5 months.
Ooh, girl. And I saw you one of those months.
Right? Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
It was a super pleasant surprise, and I love, this is going to be the segue into how I know you, because I always like to start off every episode of NIKKI BANZ Live by telling people how I know the guests who are on my show. And our story is kind of interesting because years ago, back in 2018, I was visiting Khartoum for the first time because I had some really good friends from Sudan. And I was like, I'm going to go hoop while I'm in Sudan. Let me go find some basketball players or a basketball court. And then you popped up, your Instagram popped up. I slid into your DMs. I was like, hey, do you want to go play basketball? And then it didn't end up working out on that trip. But I've obviously just been following you ever since and have been so pleasantly surprised and so excited about your trajectory and the way that you are shifting traditional power norms and hierarchical norms around who plays basketball and what those people look like, and then leveraging that to be this beautiful artist and creative that you are. So that's kind of the story. And then we linked up in Dubai in real life for the first time in December. So it's a pleasure to finally have you here on NIKKI BANZ Live.
It's a pleasure to be here for me as well.
And you always styling as usual. You always rocking some.
I just got these today. They're cool, right?
Those glasses are dope. I was like, okay, let me just wear my Adidas fit, for you. I should have brought some glasses.
I wore mine, but like they kind of slow down. But yeah, when you were introducing earlier, I was like, yeah, she understood the assignment.
You know, I do my research for my guests, you know. Oh my gosh. Shout out to my girl Dana in the building saying woohoo. Dana's an amazing film director in Dubai, who I know is one of your biggest fans, Asma. One of my other homegirls, Carrie, who's also a basketball player, saying Ballas unite in the chat. Saying so excited for this one. So it's dope to see. It's dope to see. So let's maybe talk about basketball first, and then we'll transition and pivot into your spoken word and your poetry, because I think these are, you know, some of the two biggest aspects of your identity and what you share with the world. Talk to us about your love for sports, your love for basketball. Where did that start?
I started playing sports when I was like really young. Like I'm the youngest of two, and I have an older brother, so I just automatically kind of like was on the street with him all the time, like playing like everything, like football. We were playing like a game called Rounders that we have in the UK, like just anything. I was in every school club, you know, and I was a big netballer. So for me, like netball was my thing. I know a lot of people don't know what netball is, but it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like a simpler version of basketball, but at the same time, it's not, you know? Yeah. So I played that for so long. Like I was in my like school team, you know, I was the captain and everything. And when I finished like school, because I went to all Muslim girls school, I just automatically assumed that my parents were only allowing me to play sports because it was an all-female environment, and you know, like that was what they wanted from me. And then I stopped playing sports for 2 years. I realized that it made me really unhappy, and so I started looking for sports that like I either really wanted to try or just, you know, never really had the opportunity to kind of do because they weren't in my area. And I actually did horse riding. So I did that for like 3 weeks. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not an outdoor person. It's cold, it's winter. It's not for me.
I'm with you.
Let me find the indoor sports. And then I found the basketball team was still recruiting. So I went to the trial, I made the team, and after the first year, I had like a major, like big sit down conversation with my parents, well, especially my dad. And I just told him, look, like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be, I want to play basketball and I want to continue playing sports for as long as I can. And he was like, yes, like me and your mom were so worried when you stopped playing sports. We were like, what's happened to our daughter? This is not her, you know? And then he just gave me this really big push and supported and just gave me like the idea of, you know, it can be bigger than you, this game, and to inspire other girls. And I was just like, bro, I just want to play sports. So, you know, I don't really care about inspiring other people or whatever. But eventually I ended up getting my coaching qualifications. I ended up being part of the FIBA Allow Hijab campaign. I ended up doing a lot in sports, which I didn't really kind of was going to be my path.
Wow. I am just so impressed by this, because I think that, you know, it's one thing to just be a young person playing a sport, being like, I just want to do my thing, I'm just having fun, and then to transition into a leader, to transition into a role model in the way that you did, not only as a coach, but literally by being this brown Muslim woman playing and hooping with a hijab on. And that has really been one of the things that has made shockwaves, not only sort of in certain parts of the world, but around the whole entire world. And that's a lot of responsibility to take on. How did you first decide that this like FIBA Allow Hijab campaign, how did you first decide, like, I'm going to be involved and I'm going to be one of the people who's going to be really vocal about this and make sure that other girls who look like me can play sports comfortably in the way that they should be?
I just remember like getting a call by this like amazing basketballer called Indira, and she was talking to me about art. Like we were talking about art. She wanted me to like jump on this project that she was doing in Haiti and like deliver like an art workshop there. And I remember her just kind of asking me to do this, you know, and I was like, okay, cool. And then while we were talking, the topic of basketball came up. And then she was like, wait, hold up, you play basketball? And I was like, yeah, I play basketball. And she just invited me on this campaign. She told me how she was playing for like a professional basketball team, and then she started wearing the hijab, and then she was no longer allowed. She told me about being police in the US and how she was playing basketball, and then she wasn't allowed when she wanted to go pro. And
Wow.
for us, it was really different in the UK because no one cared. Like no one cared enough to look at the rule book, you know. And
Okay.
so in my city, we were just playing. No one like mentioned it. It never really came up. And the only time it did come up was like in Wales, and the team decided that they wanted to play under protest, which basically means if we win, then they can appeal. So it was like a whole thing, but like no one really looked into it after to be like, yo, should they be dressed like this or should they not? So we didn't know that there was a thing, you know, that prevented Muslim women who wear the hijab. And it's not even just with Muslim women who wear the hijab. It was like men who wore like turbans. It was like any kind of religious headgear that was over 5 centimeters. So she just was like, yo, do you want to do this thing? And I was like, yeah. You know,
yeah,
and then like next thing I know, like I'm like in these meetings with like change.org. I'm like on an airplane to Istanbul to play like this friendly game, like all Muslim women's team in hijabs kind of thing. And then that was kind of like the start of it. And it was really beautiful to kind of be part of it because there was 12 of us and we were all like in different parts of the world. We had like girls from Indonesia, we had girls from like Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, everything. And we got like united through this kind of campaign. But it also opened up my world even more because I was suddenly introduced to girls from London, girls from other parts of like the UK and across the world really that also play sports and wear the hijab. So it was a big thing for me to kind of be exposed to all these other women as well.
Wow. Wow. You truly created this like diasporic group of Muslim women wearing hijabs from multiple different countries, multiple different continents, who were saying, we just want to hoop, we just want to play ball, and we want to do it on our terms, the way that we can honor our faith. And I just think that's so incredible. And to think, you know, it's like, you know, sometimes we think that the world is like so progressive and so woke and so far along. To think that this was only like 4 or 5 years ago that this was sort of officially made the standard, that if you want to wear a hijab, or if there's a man who wants to play wearing something on his head, that he can do that. And that only happened in these last couple of years is actually just wild. And so it's actually so incredible to sit here talking to you. So I'm like, this is literal history in the making. I mean, somebody write your name in the history books because that's literally what's going on right now. And like, that's incredible, girl.
Thank you. I feel like we're still waiting for the girls, you know, like the girls who are going to be in those spaces, like to appear on the TV more. Like, I know we've seen a few at the Olympics, but we're still waiting for like that one girl in the WNBA, you know, with hijab or not, like that one girl in the Premier League, you know, doing her thing. So it's exciting times, but it's like you say, like football lifted theirs like 2 years before us. Boxing lifted theirs like 2 years after us. So it's still like swimming still has one, you know, like swimming still has bands. So it's like, yeah, we're progressive, but are we really, you know, we haven't really opened up our like idea of like what uniform should look like, especially for women. And for me, it wasn't even like a bad thing. It was like, I worked with young girls a lot, and some girls are just not comfortable showing their body, like at all. You know, they're teenagers, they're at a certain age, they feel uncomfortable, their body's growing, changing, you know, and it's like they just want to cover, and then they have like this uniform that's like, okay, you have to wear this little skirt, you know, and it's like, it's not inclusive.
Yep, I hear you. And I just feel like this is the reason why dialogue like this and conversations like this are so important, to be reminded that there are still restrictions on the way that girls can move through the world. There are still restrictions on the way that girls can play sports. And it takes this collective effort of the basketball players and the swimmers and the fencers and everyone to come together and say, we're not going to stand for this anymore. We want girls to feel comfortable playing their sport. And if that means the skirt needs to be longer, or that means their arms need to be covered, or that means their head needs to be covered, then that's what we need to do to create a more inclusive sporting environment for all the girls all over the world who want to be involved.
Exactly.
Definitely. Honestly, well, we appreciate you leading the charge. I mean, I think it's like, it's really a testament to, you know, how important this is and how significant this is. You know, when your Adidas campaign came out, I mean, I literally remember being in Dubai, driving down the road last year and seeing an entire billboard of you with a basketball and a dress on and a hijab on. And I was like, ah! Like, it was, you know, it's amazing. And at the end of the day, we have to remember that representation does matter. Like, when we can see our role models and we can see people who look like us on the big screen, on billboards, then we can start to feel like, wow, maybe I can dress like that too. Maybe I can express myself the way that Asma expresses herself. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I mean, for me, I remember that campaign because I remember when we shot it, it was freezing. Like, it was freezing cold. I was like getting the heat pads. I was like putting them everywhere. I was like, it's so cold out here. But I remember when, like, being kind of like in the meetings and kind of discussing like, what am I gonna wear, you know? And I suggested, like, okay, I want to wear a dress. And the reason I want to wear the dress is because I felt like there was always this category, especially in women's, like, or girls' schools. It was like, these were the sporty girls, these were the makeup girls, these were the fashion girls, you know? And like, they just never mixed. Or a girl would tell you, oh, I'm not that sporty, you know? And I just wanted the little girls, especially, to see a girl in a dress holding like a basketball, and just kind of just altering that whole mindset of that, like, you know, you have to look a specific way to play sports. And I already took kind of similar pictures anyway, and so I gave them a reference and they went with it. And wow. I think the Dubai team made the biggest, literally it was the biggest billboard. Because there was billboards all over the world, but that one was like so big that even I flew out to see it. You know, I was like, I'm going to see my billboard. and I remember, like, I didn't want to say anything to the taxi driver, so I said to the taxi driver, look, there's like this big billboard, it's on Sheikh Zayed Road, I want you to take me to it. So he took me to it. I got outside, and then I gave him like my phone, and I was like, can you take a picture? And then he went like this. Yeah. And he looked at me, and then he was like, she kind of looks like you. And I was like, it's me.
Homie was like, what? I'm out here driving around Adidas billboard superstars, and I didn't
he was
know.
So shocked. He was like, can I take a picture to show my family? I was like, yeah. Right. But even for me, I think that was like one of my favorite campaigns, you know, so far. Like, I've done a lot of cool stuff with them, but that one, I think the thing that I loved the most was the parents messaging me. Like, there was girls asking who was the princess, you know, and then they were kind of being told, like, oh, she plays sports, you know, it's not your typical version of a princess fairy tale story. It's like a something bit different. So that was my favorite part of the kind of whole campaign.
That is so beautiful. And to be able to reshape these perspectives, reshape these narratives of what a princess is, what an athlete is, how she dresses, what she looks like, that is so critical. And I love what you said about the brand being open to your ideas and receptive to you saying, this is the style, this is what I think would be important. Do you feel like a lot of the brands that you work with today are open to having that conversation? Because I know sometimes it can be really difficult. Brands have an idea in their head and they just want to roll with it. But from what you're describing, it sounds like you've worked with some brands who are really allies. They're really trying their best to be more inclusive and to listen to, you know, what people from marginalized communities, whether it be women of color, Muslim women, like, you know, it sounds like they're really receptive to that. Is that something that you found to be the case lately?
I feel like, because I worked with a lot, like you said, but a huge part of it isn't actually the brand, it's you not being afraid of the size of the brand. So for me, like, I remember like my first year with them, I was a little bit more quiet. Like, I wouldn't really say like, hey, I have this idea, or can we do this? Or in a meeting, I wouldn't, and not just them, like other brands too, you know, I wouldn't say, hey, I also have like a master's in visual arts. I am a photographer, I have a degree in it. Yes, I'm in this space as a sports person, but I have my own version of how I want to be represented. You know, yeah, it's your brand, but I also have my own brand. You know, whereas now I'm way more vocal about it. I'm like, this is me, I'm my brand, and that's your brand, and you're trying to align with me. So we need to meet somewhere in the middle, you know. And so I feel like because I'm more vocal about it, they're more open to hearing my ideas, and I'm able to suggest things. But when I first started off, I was really like, oh, I don't know if I should say that. Like, I'm just grateful to be here, you know. Now I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I've been here for a while. So
exactly.
you know, but I also feel like there's been a big push anyway, for brands, since, you know, like the Black Lives Matter and on all of that. Like they've kind of been put in a position where they actually are held accountable when they do make mistakes more.
Absolutely.
And that was a big thing for me and for I think other athletes as well, because I feel like prior to that there was always this threat of like losing sponsorships and like brand deals and stuff. And that kind of like solidified the thing of like, okay, you're an individual and I'm an individual. Like, yeah, you're an individual and I'm an individual, and we have our own activism or things that we want to fight for, like outside of the brand. So that means sometimes I'm going to talk about human rights violations, and I'm going to talk about things that the brand might be really uncomfortable to talk about, but they have to accept that like we also have a voice. And I think LeBron James got told like shut up and dribble, and he was just like, I'm not going to shut up and dribble. So we're back in that space where it's like, yeah, athletes can speak. It doesn't matter if they have sponsors or not, you know. As long as it's respectful, you know, because there's also a way to speak. So I've just kind of become more free in my speech and the way I express myself, since I think Black Lives Matter as well.
I'm so grateful that you shared that, because I think that's something that so many of us forget, or so many of us are nervous about, right? We want to work with these big brands, we want to collaborate, we want to be sponsored, and we feel like because of the size of their brand, we don't have as much agency. We don't have a voice to say really how we really feel, or to say what really makes sense for the culture, for the sport, for whatever it is, for the faith. Right. And so to just that reminder that actually the brand is coming to you. They want to work with you. You do have a voice, and you have been able, Asma, to channel that voice, not only in the brand collaborations and in the athletic prowess that you have, but like you said, also in your poetry, in your spoken word. You use your voice in so many different and dynamic and powerful ways. Talk to us about some of the ways you're using your voice, not just in the sports world, but also in terms of your poetry and in terms of some of the talks that you've been giving lately.
For me, the poetry, like, I started doing it when I was 8, you know, and it shocked me. Like yeah, like I had this one lesson at school and I was 8, and I kept getting like my books returned to me with like red markings, like bad spelling mistakes, like structures all messed up, like all sorts of stuff, you know. And then we did this one lesson and it was like poetry, and my brain was just like, this is the thing that I like, you know. And then I hid it. Like I was like, my brain was like, okay, you have to protect this. So I started writing more and more and more.
Wow.
It was like in this book that I didn't show anyone. Like it was just my book. No one could put red markings on it or whatever. And it became this thing that I basically, like, I would write things in that like little poetry book of mine. Like my mom would tell me off and I would go write a poem, but like she told me off, you know. She told me off. And but I would also write like happy things, and it became the way that I like process my emotions and my feelings about the world and things that I understand and don't understand. And I think I went to university, and while I was at university, I was still using poetry. So I would put like pictures up, you know, in my exhibition, but it'd be accompanied by a poem.
Wow.
And so when I finished university, I couldn't go down the route that I actually originally wanted to do. And so I decided, okay, I've been doing this poetry thing for a very long time. I want to see what the words look like on a stage where you strip away the book, you strip away the imagery, you just give them the words and allow their imagination to take them to places. And it was like the best decision I made. I made it while I was in Sudan, by the way. There's something about Sudan, you know, it makes you
Girl.
like just figure out things. I was there, I read like this book called Outliers, and it just made a lot of things make sense to me about timing in life. And I came back to the UK, and within a couple of like weeks, I put up like my Facebook page, and I was like, Asma the artist, you know, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I started posting like poems, and eventually I joined a workshop, and then I entered a competition like with BBC One Extra and the Roundhouse, which is like a big theatre in the UK. And I ended up winning for my region.
Wow.
And it was like one of those moments where I was literally like, is this a joke? Like, is this a joke, you know?
Right.
And
like, oh, snap.
I was literally like, yo, this is a joke, right? And I sat all my friends down because I'm actually like kind of introverted / extroverted. I'm not as extroverted as people think I am. So I remember sitting my friends down and being like, look, guys, so I'm going to do this thing over the next like year. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, you know, but you're going to see me around like being extroverted.
Yes.
And because I'm shy, so I'm like, I don't want you to feel weird. It wasn't like I was asking for permission, but I was letting them know, like, hey, I'm gonna act weird, and not like my normal self. So just you know, just live with me in the moment, you know.
Right.
And I did it, and my friends were so supportive. And I remember like at the end of that year, like one of my friends came and she was like, yo, like you said you were gonna do this thing, and we thought you were joking, and then you did it, but you didn't just do it, like you really did it, like you smashed it. And
wow.
So for me, I'm always kind of like reminded that like words were not supposed to be my strength. I got told it so many times, you know, throughout like high school, through everything, not even sports. Like I was told so many times at school, like these two things, you're not gonna have a career in them. So you you need to go do something more sciencey, more maths, more whatever. And there was just like this kind of person inside me that's just like, I don't care what you think. I'm gonna do what I know and what I feel like works for me. So I just kept doing it. And now like I have my own poetry book that I put out like in the middle of COVID. And it was like this moment where I was like, okay, so I have a book now.
I'm an author, y'all. Hey.
Yeah. But yeah, it came from this, originally came from like not finding my voice in words. Not necessarily words, but like I always say like I found my voice in words I couldn't spell. And that's kind of like how I try to look at it. I still can't answer the words.
Well, you
I'm still using the voice. Pardon?
You did all right in the DMs, girl. So don't worry about that. But I just think listening to your story again, it's just so powerful because it's this reminder that the world is going to try and tell you what you can and can't do, especially as a woman, especially as a woman of color, a Muslim woman of color. Like give it all the identities on there that the world wants to say, this is your box and you need to stay in it. And you continue to break out of all those boxes. You say, okay, I want to be great in sports, and you're great in sports. I want to be a great spoken word artist. I'm going to be a great spoken word artist. I'm going to be a visual artist. You're a great visual artist. I watch your videos on YouTube. You know, you're able to bring to life all of these things that you're passionate about and not let anybody tell you otherwise. And I think for that, we are all so grateful that you share that with the world because it's beautiful and we need to see that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for me, like it's not that I'm the same person, you know, like I'm the same person in all these spaces. But I think my goals just have changed like through time, which even for me is kind of surprising, you know, like I'm less focused on the big things now.
Yes.
And there's little stuff that I care about more now, like spending time with my family, you know, doing like little things that I feel like, because I think I did a lot, and then my brain's like, no, like.
Hey, a lot of small things can add up into a groundswell of a very big thing. So keep on keeping on, sis.
Thank you. I will.
We know you will. We know you will. And Asma, I want to be thoughtful of your time. We're at the 30-minute mark. I know it's late for you, so I just want to ask you one final question before I let you hop off and have the rest of your night. I know that there's so many people here on the live and people who are watching this rerun on YouTube who are so inspired by you and your dynamism and all the different things that you do and support. So tell us, like, what's next, what's coming up on the horizon, and how can we, as your friends, your fans, your followers, how can we continue to support you and your journey?
It's a big question.
Hey.
I think for me, what's next, and it's kind of been what's next for the past, like, I would say, year, is just really focusing on kind of being behind the camera.
Okay.
I think my whole goal when I studied was to be behind the camera, like not to be in front of it. And then I kind of found myself in front of it, and now I want to kind of be behind it, even if it's I'm part behind it but then part in front, you know. I want to tell stories of other girls who play sports, because I feel like I'm not the one, and each girl has her own kind of challenges and her own like success stories. And I think the more we kind of introduce young girls to that, the more, like, the more girls will see, you know, there's more representation. There's not everyone wants to play basketball, you know, like a girl might see me and see that I'm playing basketball, but it might not be me, the one who inspires her. It might be the girl who plays tennis, you know. So it's just having this dynamic kind of range of girls who play sports. So I really want to focus on that. I want to focus on, like, this is gonna sound so bad, but not bad at the same time, like stepping away from sports to a certain degree, to explore my other side, like the creative side of me, the storytelling. Because for some reason, like, I wrote a play a few years ago, and I remember, like, I sat down and I told her, like, I want to write the play, but I don't want it to have any poetry in it, and I don't want it to be sports related in any way. We were like, okay, cool. Is that the plan? That's the plan. The play ended up being sports related with poetry related.
And there we go, back to the beginning.
But it was amazing because obviously it was done in such a different way, you know, to how I normally share my story. So it was actually fantastic and stuff. But now I kind of want to, even if it's just a little bit of room, like just a little bit of room for other things in my life to kind of take like a forward, what's it called, the thing,
like a leap forward, momentum, progress.
So I'm just playing around with the camera, playing around with, like, video camera, like playing around with, like, script writing and that kind of stuff. So if people could just support sharing, I don't know, stuff like that, you know, because I think algorithms are weird these days.
I'm like, don't even get me started on the algorithm, okay?
So it's just kind of like, if you see something and you like it, like, just kind of share, because I think that's what actually helps us as creatives. And I don't normally share that, like, with people, to, like, that's how you can support. It might not seem like a big thing, you know, but those kind of likes and shares and stuff, like, to the people that you care about, it really does help in the long run and allows them to use their voice further and further.
100%. And I see one of my homies here, another amazing content creator in Dubai, Chai Ahmed, saying brave. And that is 1,000% what you are, baby girl. You know, I mean, honestly, even for you to say, like, okay, I want to write this play, and it ended up being about, you know, sports and all the things I've been talking about, but still, like, we just skipped over the fact that you wrote a whole play, girl, like a whole play. So I have no doubt that you will figure out a way to continue to express your passions through visual arts, through being behind the camera, through the script writing, and you'll figure out a way to weave in all of those different narratives and all those different identities of who you are, because that's what creatives do. And you, my friend, are certainly a creative.
I really appreciate that.
Well, of course, of course. I already got a list of some people in Dubai that I want to connect you with, some filmmakers, some folks. So I'll be in the DMs after this interview, letting you know. Because I think it's so important for other creatives to meet one another. So I have to say, it's just been such a pleasure chatting to you, and for all the people who want to continue to follow Asma's journey through creativity, through the visual arts, through poetry, through being behind the camera, you can literally go to the top of your screen right now, click that little arrow, the little white arrow at the top middle of the screen. You can go follow Asma Elbadawi right now so you can join the conversation, get involved, continue to follow and support all this tremendous work that she's doing. And if you like this interview here on NIKKI BANZ Live, you can follow me as well at They Call Me Bands. And I just think, Asma, like this conversation for me has been like years in the making. So to really be able to just sit down with you finally, and to, after having met you like a couple months ago, it's just been so beautiful. You are an inspiration to me as a fellow hooper, as a fellow basketball player, as a fellow woman of color, woman of the African continent and diaspora. I mean, truly, it's just a pleasure to continue to watch you shine, and just know that you have so many people rooting for you in all elements: the poetry, the basketball, the styling, the visual arts, all the things that you do. So please keep shining, because we are all just trying to follow your lead.
Thank you so much. And we have to play basketball next time you're in Dubai.
I'm gonna be there again. I know the Nas Summit is happening at the end of April, I think, that last weekend in April. I'm coming to Dubai. My plane tickets are just about booked, so we're gonna have to schedule that one in and finally get our little basketball game on.
We definitely have to. Well, you have a lovely night.
Thank you so much.
We should do this again soon.
Yeah, we will. We will. Shukran, Habibti. Have a beautiful night. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is NIKKI BANZ Live with Asma Elbadawi. We'll see you next Tuesday right here with another interview. Bye, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, Asma.
Bye.